are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan-Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another session of the Daily African Proverbs. We are live and direct on YouTube, and we are also live and direct on Clubhouse. We are just setting up. I have a really special guest with me that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. I want to take a second to just welcome you all who are joining us on Clubhouse, and also those who are joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much. It's Monday, and we have to get things started right. And so today, as usual, we have an incredible African proverb that is going to guide our conversation today. But also, these conversations are not complete without our guests. And today, I'm really privileged because we have a wonderful creator. This is a podcaster. One of the few African female podcasters in the continent, and also she's a portrait artist, she's a content crafter and a wordsmith. We have Akumu Fiona, who is our special guest today, and she's in Nairobi, Kenya, I believe, and you're going to learn a lot more about her in just a moment. But for now, I want us to just listen to the proverb that we have today from Chad. I want to pin the link to the YouTube live stream at the top of the room, so that if you're with us on Clubhouse, you can easily join us over there on YouTube. Again, my name is Simon Javan-Okelo. I am in Seattle, Washington. I am from Kisumu, Kenya originally, and I love hosting the Daily African Proverbs. This is our main show here in the African Father in America podcast. But we have a couple of other shows that happen during the week. For example, on Wednesdays, we have Travel in Africa. That is another beautiful show that I host together with amazing other co-hosts. So I hope that you can join us sometime for that. And then on Thursdays, we have Trees and Medicine, which is another incredible show that we host here in the African Father in America podcast. So those two other shows are mainly audio, but the Daily African Proverbs is also available on YouTube, and you can always watch the videos whenever you have time. So there's so much that we're going to learn from today's proverb, and I just want to situate our guest here so that our guest can join us here for a second. So just bear with me as I bring in our guest to the conversation. I'm interested to know who is with us in the room at the moment. I see that Kenny is here. I'll just bring you up on the stage. I know that a couple of other people who are part of the village are also going to join us in a moment. Kenny, I hope you're doing well. We have a proverb here from Chad, and the proverb says that if you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. If you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. I just want to check again with Fiona. I don't see your image, Fiona, at the moment, but I know you're here.
Can you hear me?
I hear you very well, but I don't see your picture. So if you can look at your camera, just triple check and see what's going on with it. I want to welcome Paulina and Joy, who have joined us as well for this conversation. I'm just incredibly grateful for the time that you've all created to be with us today. Again, our proverb says that if you are filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. This is a proverb from Chad. The structure of the show today is going to take us through Fiona's interpretation of this proverb. We are going to learn about a childhood story that inspires Fiona today. What is it that happened long time ago that makes you so amazing in the multiple things that you do. And we are going to talk about your podcasting, your content creation, you being a wordsmith and also an artist. And finally, we are going to hear what our audience members have to say. And then lastly, you're going to share with us just a few remarks in closing, and also how our audience members can stay connected with you. So for now, I want to share just the takeaways from this episode quickly before I bring you on, Fiona. First is, these are the takeaways. When you read this proverb from Chad, hopefully these are the things that you can, add to your toolbox. Number one, pride comes before fall, I think we all know that, and we've all been faced with such a situation in one way or another. Number two, humility is key to wisdom. If you're not humble, nobody will share with you any knowledge. People will actually let you trip and fall many times so that you learn the hard way. But if you're humble, people will actually come to you with information that will be helpful to you and your community. And then finally, wisdom leads to happiness. Yeah, if you look at some of the most wise and grounded people, they are not very rich. They don't have a lot of stress. They're always just joyful. Yesterday here in Seattle, I went to the Seattle Peace Concert, and there's this guy. He's 75 years old. His name is Barney Hall. Old African American guy, and in every event I've ever been to, he's always at the front of the stage dancing. And he looks young. He looks like he's probably 40, but he's 75, And
Wow.
he was in college when Kenya was getting independence, in 1964, And yesterday, I was just, dancing with my daughters and playing, and he was right there with us, dancing as well. And, this last takeaway that says wisdom leads to happiness, for me, it's really, really relevant and true, especially going by the story of Uncle Barney. So now, Fiona, it's been a minute, trying to get us together to do this, episode. And I want you to just take a moment, say hello, introduce yourself a little bit more, and then take a stab at giving us the interpretation on this Chad proverb. If you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That's a nice intro. My name is Akumu Fiona. You can call me Akumu. I'm trying to go to the African name that I was given. Fiona came with the colonialists, so it's going to take a backseat in the next few years. So it's going to be hyphen. I am not hyphenated, like acronym. Like it's going to be an F dot whatever. So Akumu is the main name from now on. I think Simon has said it all. I am a content creator. And I think content creator includes everything. So I sketch mainly for social media, not so much for pay. And then I create a podcast, so that's also content. And my day job is also editing, creating, and working with a team in terms of content with the clients, and also a company right now from India. So every day my job is to work on creating new content, whether podcast, social media, or blog form. And I'm Kenyan, African, fully African, double Luo. It's a tribe from Kenya. So I think that's me. What else do you want to know?
No, I just
From the interview?
I will know a lot. I will know a lot. In the course of our conversation today. I just want to take a second to welcome Kenny and Becky and Lord Muenda to the stage on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. If you're joining us there, make sure you share your comment. Let us know where you're joining us from. For now, in the next few minutes, we're going to hear from my special guest, Akumu Fiona, who is an incredible...
Akumu.
Akumu. Akumu is a very powerful name. So,
you know the meaning, right?
Yeah. How can I not know the meaning? Well, Akumu is a very strong name. It's basically in Luo. It means it's like the rule and regulation, or if somebody says Akumi, it means they are restricting you, you're being restricted to, Akumi, so Akumu.
Oh, but there's another meaning, right?
Tell me
another very interesting.
Tell me the other meaning.
So Akumu means born before the mother saw the next period. So that means you were born really close also to another kid, like super close. I was literally born 10 months after my other sister.
You see, then it has the same meaning, Akumu and Akumi. Yeah? Like you're born, whoever is named after that was born at a very strict time, like during constraint, and anyway, yeah, I love it. But now share with us your perspective. Today our topic is really around being humble and why being humble leads to greater success, and we've talked about the 3 takeaways from today's conversation that I'm hoping you've all taken note of. But now let's talk about this Chadian proverb: if you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. Share with us what comes to your mind when you hear this.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is the first of all, it's looking at the brain as it has finite space. I mean, that's not true, but it just kind of shows that, when you have pride, then you won't have enough of a beginner's mind in terms of, accepting new knowledge, accepting that maybe you are wrong. So pride stops a lot of wisdom in many ways. First, it refuses you from learning new things. It stops you from changing your own mind or your perspective, which is part of wisdom. And and it stops you from just looking outside your mindset, like your own perspective. And wisdom is all those 3 things, being open to new things, increasing your perspective, and even changing your mind about old perspectives. Yeah. So I feel like once you have pride, you can't really learn anything. And wisdom starts by being open to new knowledge and new ideas. Yeah.
Excellent.
For what wisdom would put in, would take. I mean, it takes space for what the space with wisdom would take.
Excellent. Yeah. So if you're prideful, if you're too prideful, then your pride begins to occupy the space of wisdom, right?
Exactly. And not even necessarily. Maybe there is space. I'm even looking at it in terms of a container. If pride even takes 70%, whether it's full or not, whether it takes 100% of the container or 70%, if you have too much pride, even if there's space for wisdom, the wisdom will not come in because you're not open to it even coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. I agree with that completely. And for those who are just joining us, my name is Simon Okello. I am in Seattle, Washington. I am from Kisumu, Kenya originally, and I love hosting the Daily African Proverbs. This is the main show of the African Father in America podcast. And today, we are almost at 230 episodes actually with the African Father in America podcast. And I'm hosting another incredible podcaster and incredible creator. We are going to learn more about that. But right now, we want to learn about a childhood story, maybe sometime when you are 8 to 12, something that reminds you of who you are and motivates you and keeps you going, because as someone who is multifaceted like you, there has to be a driving force. I share with many guests of this show my own story of how when I was around 8 to 12, I used to distribute milk and bread in Kisumu. I had neighborhoods in Manyata where even if you go now, there are still shopkeepers there, that still know me. Yeah. Because I was little and I had a big bike, so I was riding the bike on the side. I don't know if you know how Kenyans, and if you're short
The
and
the
you can't.
blackie, the actual blackie bike.
Yes,
The ones that we call
yes.
black. Oh my god.
Yes, I had the ones that had a smaller wheel at the front and a bigger wheel at the back. You know those bikes?
Ah,
Yeah, they were meant for carrying a lot of, a lot of cargo, So I had one of those bikes, and I was well known because of that business that my mom was doing. And so those years made who I am. They inform who I am today. That's part of why I do this show very early in the morning. This show starts at 6 a.m. in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. And local guests in Seattle are always apprehensive whenever I invite them for the show. They're like, wow, that's really, really early. But I tell them it's evening somewhere in the world, Anyhow,
exactly.
so I want you to share with us your own story, something that inspires you today as the leader that you have become.
I think there's one story that can never fail to inspire me, and that's when I was in primary school. So this is not even 8. I think 5 years old or something. When you're in nursery, like no, sorry, I was in grade 1. It was maybe before, and I was selected. Either, which is strange, it is. I don't know whether I was selected or I volunteered to be the Satan in a play for Jesus Temptation. So I played Satan in that play. I am not proud of the fact that I played Satan. I'm proud of the fact that I was a very courageous, Satan on that stage. And I think I find that story to be so funny because I think even today I was watching a video and they were saying, what would you do if you knew no one would laugh when you told them what you were going to do? So, these days as adults, you tell someone, oh, you were cast as the devil, and people think, there's something wrong with you for doing that, or just doing that role. It takes a lot of courage. And as a kid, clearly that didn't matter to me. I didn't care what people thought of me. And I think, as my mom says, I was super loud. I was like the most courageous, devil ever, the most tempting devil for that Jesus. I think I was a biggest person on that stage as the devil. So I like that story because for I think 2 major reasons. Because I was very fearless as a kid, totally fearless, before the teenage years came and then killed all that from me. I'm just starting to reconnect with that kid on that stage. And I think I also like the fact that I didn't really care what people thought. I bet if I told my mom, I was cast as Satan, she would say, no, why? So I think I didn't even tell her. Me, I just saw it as a normal thing, and I was very happy to perform. So I kind of want to channel that kind of courage and that kind of love for performance from that kid. Yeah. So that inspires me even today.
That's beautiful. Yeah, as kids, and I'm saying that because I'm a father of 3 little girls, and I just see how courageous they are. Sometime the youngest, who is 3, she wants to jump from the highest place where all the others can't, and then with her, she doesn't care. She'll just jump, and she knows I'm going to catch her. She knows I'm going to catch her.
Yeah. The hope, right?
Yeah. So she just jumps, and while she's already airborne, she sees me running towards her, and she's just laughing. She's like, she doesn't know that if I didn't run that way, she was going to get hurt. But she's like, this is how life is, just jump and somebody comes to the rescue.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. And somehow, around 7, 8, life removes that from us as children. Yeah. So that's why I like to, that's why I always told, you need to reconnect with your childhood self, because that childhood self was untainted by, life and shyness and, oh my God, what would people think? Yeah.
I agree with that completely. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think there's a lot of work that we all have to do to rediscover, that little child in us, and the little talents and the ideas and the things that we wanted to do when we were no, the things that we did, that we are no longer doing as adults. Now,
Exactly.
when somebody goes online and looks up Akumu Fiona, they'll see a lot. First, they'll see that you're a podcaster. Then they'll see that you're a content crafter. Then they'll see that you're a wordsmith. You're a portrait artist, and there are many things that they probably won't see that you do. I wanted you to just speak to some of your biggest accomplishments with all this incredible work that you do. What is it that if you close your eyes, you just smile when you think about it? You say, this one, this is what I'm known for, and this is what I'm most proud of right now.
Right now, damn. I don't think I have a standout. I think everything is in process. The one because okay, so the thing is, at some point, I used to be an artist as a kid, and then later in my teenage years, I stopped and went into ISEC, which is a youth organization. So I'd say that leadership is another aspect of accomplishment that I would say, where I was able to lead a national organization. So I'd say that in university, but in terms of now art and my artistic self, those are still in. I'm yet to get where I want to be. I'd want to write a book, maybe do a graphic novel or comic at some point. Because as a kid, I actually created a comic, and honestly, I have no idea where it went. So, in terms of my artistic pursuits, I am yet to get where I want to. A book, a piece of art that is actually timeless. I'm yet to get there for sure. But in terms of leadership and kind of improving myself as a person in my 20s, traveling, seeing the world, I think that is what I'd say is in the past. And it's going to push me towards now the artistic accomplishments that I'm looking to have in the next 5-10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. But I want you to talk to me about your favorite episode that you've recorded so far with your podcast. But I want you to just talk about your podcasting briefly. Why you chose podcasting as a path, and if you're talking to a group of young girls in Kisumu, Kenya, who have asked you to tell them why you chose podcasting as your path and what podcasting would do for them.
Okay, so I'll just start maybe by explaining maybe what the podcast is about. So I'm a co-host together with my partner in crime. She's called Claire Baker. She's half British, half French, but now fully Kenyan. So I keep forgetting that she's not originally born here, but she's just as Kenyan as myself. Yeah. So we met in a book club through a mutual friend, and in that book, we met before the book club, and in the book club we figured, oh my god, we actually listen to a lot of podcasts, and one thing led to another, and then we wanted to start our own. And we figured we listen to a very particular type of podcast that is kind of documentary style and very kind of specifically formatted. So we thought, okay, we haven't seen that in Kenya yet. So why don't we create something that they always say, create something that you can't find, right? So we decided to fill that niche, where we decided now we'd call it the Yes Girls podcast, where we'd be the activists of getting people to say yes to new things, right? So the podcast is pretty much about that. We say yes to things we haven't done before. So we've said yes to anything between from mixology to sound production to just skills and opportunities that we've never done before. I mean, we started with veganism, being vegan for a week. Many, there are lots of different ones. We've done stand-up comedy. So the beauty of that podcast is the fact that both of us like trying new things. I've always called myself, some sort of experimenter. I mean, experiment with almost everything, even my jewelry. So having that happen in a podcast where I'm forced to try new things and then document it for other people, it's amazing. So why podcasting? For us, we wanted to fill that gap that we saw in the Kenyan market. And then why now? I think right now Africa is in a really, it's just at the cusp of, where podcasting is becoming a big thing. Maybe in 3 years it will be as huge as the American market, where people are getting, millions just from being podcasters. So I think if anyone wants to start something in terms of content online, YouTube is fine, but YouTube is quite slow. I think you have higher chances of growing on a, if you start a podcast now and you gain enough traction, because I think YouTube it's very I don't know what to call it. The chances of you amassing an audience, like a huge enough audience for advertising, that's the chances are way smaller. But with podcasting, your chances are way bigger in terms of, I think, even if you get consistent listenership of maybe 1,000 or less, that is enough to get advertisers in. So I feel like in the next 3 years, podcasting will be way easier to monetize than YouTube. So that's definitely a place where you want to be. And the fact that you see the way tech companies are coming to Kenya now, because tech is booming in Kenya. I think in 3 years, podcasts will be booming in Africa because we're just taking off. So for anyone who's considering a podcast, stop considering and just do it. Because by the time Africa takes off in terms of podcasting, you need to have 3 years experience. So I think now is the best time to just get in before it becomes big. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. We're just about to create space to listen to our audience members. So if you're in the audience on Clubhouse, join us on the stage. If you're already on the stage, prepare to share what today's proverb means to you, and also what comment you have for my special guest today, and also share with us where you are joining us from. So start thinking about that. In the meantime, Fiona, there are fewer and fewer female podcasters worldwide, and Kenya is probably facing that trouble even more. In fact, currently in Kenya, one of the presidential candidates has a female running mate, and that is causing a lot of excitement. I just want you to speak to the importance of having more female podcasters, having more women leaders, and some of the challenges you have faced just growing your platform, as a podcaster, and and you're also an entrepreneur, an artist. What are some of the challenges that you have faced that if you are talking to this group of girls in Kisumu, you'd tell them, maybe give them one tip on how to tackle it?
I'm trying not to be cliche. Challenges. I think you'll always face the challenge of people assuming you can't do it. And personally, for me, that is my biggest motivator. When someone tells me I can't do something, that's when I get the motivation now to do it. So if you can reframe any any obstacles in terms of men thinking you're not good enough or anything, or society thinking you shouldn't do something, I think you reframe it and make it become your fuel. For me, it's always been my fuel. I was told at some point, I couldn't do modeling and pageants, and I did that just because I was told, you can't do it. I did it. I think in university I was told, you can't lead, a national organization, and I did it just to prove them and myself wrong. So I think for me, it's always motivation. My doubt and other people's doubt is motivation. And so I don't see I don't look at my challenges as challenges. I mean, we're pretty much less than a century away from, women empowerment, right? So we expect challenges for the next few decades. All I can say is that we are way better than our grandparents, so our grandmothers rather. So what I take from that is that I am here to prove to the young girls after me that it's possible. And I'm here to prove to my grandmother that it's possible and to push the arrow forward. Like, we shouldn't accept when we are being, looked down upon. You always speak up. And I think that's a problem with a lot of, I'd say, just generally women, in Africa, we are told, just keep quiet, be peaceful. I'm not saying you lose your feminine energy, but know when to speak up because you're fighting for the next generation. So don't allow yourself to be looked down upon, and reframe the whole idea as something that you are going to do just because people are doubting you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you are just joining us, my name is Simon Okello. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast. We are on Clubhouse right now, and on Clubhouse, you should follow the African Father in America club. That way, whenever we have these conversations, you can be amongst the people to be notified. If you are joining us on YouTube, thank you. Remember to subscribe to the channel. The link is at the top of the room. And this conversation is recorded for the African Father in America podcast, which is going to be available. This particular episode is going to be available in like an hour on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Podcasts. So you can listen to it on your way to work, in the gym. You can catch this conversation if you didn't join us from the very beginning. But now it's time to Fiona, Akumu, take a few notes. We have a few members of our audience here who are going to also share their perspectives. Remember, our conversation today is around why being humble leads to greater success. And it's grounded on an African proverb from Chad that says, if you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. So we want to hear from Becky. Becky, just go ahead, introduce yourself, where you're joining us from, and what this proverb means to you. If you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. And also, if you have any comment to my special guest, Akumu, go ahead and share, please.
Thank you, Simon. My name is Becky. I'm joining you from Canada, and I'm just loving the show. So, why being humble leads to greater success? To me, I cherish being humble, and it has been always my goal to remain humble. When you are humble, you attract. It's easier for anybody to communicate with you. It's easier for anybody to reach you. And from that, you get to know, like when you meet people, they come with different experiences, different exposures, different knowledge. The books they've read, the people they've met, the places they've been to, you have not been to.
Yeah.
So to me, any chance to meet anybody to talk to is a chance for me to learn. And that has helped me a lot, because sometimes I get myself doing things that I don't even know how I do them, but it's because I'm humble enough to be open to people and be approachable. I remember one time I was in Nairobi and I was doing a project that I didn't even know. I just took that project by faith. And on my first day with my people on that project, a lady just came to me and said, "Mom, are you the one having this project?" I said, "Yes." There's something it had heights that I didn't even have machines to do. But he told me, this project last year, I'm the one who did it, and I have these machines, I have these people who did the job. Can I bring them to help you? And that was a lesson to me. If I was like I up there and not approachable, I wouldn't have gotten that kind of information and that assistance. So whenever you are humble, you give people opportunity to talk, to be open to you, to be like transparent to you. They feel like you are acceptable and you are welcoming. So being humble opens so many doors, and it has opened so many doors for me. And even what I'm doing now and everything I've ever done is out of humility, because I start on things that I don't know how I'm going to do, but finally I get to do them because I'm humble and open enough for people. So normally it is said that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So when you are humble, you listen more to people and you talk less. And that has been my goal. And it has kept me on my toes, and it has opened so many doors for me. Now, I just want to appreciate our guest, Akumu. And personally, I've done a few books and I'm doing a book now. But somehow
Wow.
I've not got to podcast. So I just admire and tell her to keep on going. Anything that her mind is wishing to do, she can do it, and she'll do it. Even the book she'll write, it's not a big deal. So keep up the good work,
Thank you.
and we are cheering you up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. I
And you need
see.
to start a podcast. Actually, a lot
Akum.
of authors start podcasts. So you should definitely start one as well. Thank you for your words.
That's incredible. I agree, Akumu. And I appreciate you, Becky, for your perspectives. We want to move on to Lord Mwenda. Lord, thank you for joining us again today and for your continued support. Share with us where you're joining us from, and also your interpretation of today's proverb. And if you have a comment for Akumu, go ahead and share it as well. The proverb says, if you are filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. This is a Chadian proverb. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Bless. Well, Simon. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here and start the morning with wisdom. So, yeah, for me that proverb is a great reminder to the extent, and to even like slightly bring scripture into it. Right? There's the, he who humbles himself, will be exalted, and he who exalts himself, will be humble. And that's that's a similar proverb. Very similar, if not the same. So for me, it's to the extent that for me, how I employ that principle or those laws is that I expect the same from everyone. Like however intelligent I am, I expect everyone to have a similar capacity of intelligence. So and that allows me to be able to learn from everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or if you're a poor man on the street. You're going to get the exact same of respect as a human being from me. And I think it's kind of that lacks, especially in our society today, in the sense that I guess we're not humble anymore, so to speak. And I think that's also correlates with the aspect of becoming more individual. We're more in an individualistic society, so humility in an individualistic society kind of it becomes blurred, right? And there's an element of pride. Like nowadays, like, and I'm sorry I didn't mention where I'm from. I'm also from Kenya, but I'm in Georgia right now, here in America. And you will notice that there's when you're hearing people, especially young adults, like we're fresh out of high school, you've gotten out of here, oh no, I got my own this, I got my own that, I've been out of my mama's house since this and this and that, you know what I'm saying? And it's all about what they've done by themselves, you know what I'm saying, rather than as a community, and I think the aspect of wisdom, someone who's prideful cannot you're not going to be thinking about a community. That's number one. So for you to even see the wisdom in doing things as a community and standing on the shoulders of people who've done it before. I was listening to your story earlier, Simon, about where you used to be a shot, sell bread and milk, and you're still known there, and that's because of the essence of community that exists. And even with you being here in America, you've seen how life is when you go back home. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a sense of pride that, oh yeah, these people are, it's because of that that humility. You can still interact and commune with people who are, so to speak, at a lesser, so to speak, I'm putting quote unquote while I'm speaking, but lesser class than you, so to speak. But I guess that's my 2 cents for now. And shout out to is it Akumu?
Yes, it's Akumu Fiona.
Akumu. Yeah, and
Yes,
bless to
Akumu.
her. I actually, I have a YouTube channel. I've had one for a while, and I've been considering just turning it into a podcast. And blessing life to you, and Godspeed. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much. Akumu, go ahead. Remember, you're going to have time to reflect on everything being said on the stage. So take some notes and grab some nuggets. Yeah. I want to go on and listen to Stella for a moment. But Lord, I have to say a couple of things to you and Becky. I am producing Madaraka Festival. This is probably the biggest African produced festival in North America that has been consistent for almost a decade. But many people don't know that I am the one who has been producing it consistently together with a team, not alone. It's happening August 13th and 14th. It's going to be incredible. It's 2 days for the first time, and it's happening at the Seattle waterfront, right in the middle of Seattle, Washington. I would love for you guys to help spread the word or come in person, because we have to show up. We have to meet in person, and we have to do things like this and have our own platforms, where we can have Jamaican artists performing, Cameroonian artists, Kenyan artists, Equatorial Guinea artists, and this is a very diverse stage and a very beautiful event. And I can't say much. If you want to learn more, follow me on Instagram and you'll be able to see some of the posts about it, or just go to madarakafestival.com and you'll be able to learn more about it. But Stella, who is here with us right now, also works with One Vibe and helps with promoting and producing content for Madaraka. So maybe Stella, if you just want to speak to Madaraka briefly, your experience, with that, and also speak to your interpretation of this proverb, and share with us any comment to Akumu Fiona. By the way, Akumu, your name is already powerful as an author's name, so I can't wait to see the book with your name on the cover. Okay, Stella, go ahead.
Thank you, Simon. Hi, everyone. Hi, Akumu. This is Stella from Kenya.
Hi.
And I'm happy to be here today. And today's proverb from Chad, which says, if you are filled with pride, then... Sorry, I just lost pride.
Yeah, if you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom.
Yes, if you are filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. Thank you, Simon. Today's proverb is something that speaks to me directly. Like, we are having a conversation with the proverb, because just like everyone has said, it talks more about being humble, and being humble is something I've been working on since a very long time ago. And one of the ways I realized that I can become humble is learning a new thing. So I've always tried to learn a new thing, even when people think that it's outrageous and it's way out of line with what I'm doing. But it has really humbled me in a way, because when I learn something, like recently over the weekend I was taking some short course, and I realized that there was a lot that I didn't know, that I thought I knew, or I think I assumed I knew. But now when I took my time to learn, then it really humbled me, because I got to get a lot of information that I was just brushing over and assuming I know, yet I didn't have a good grasp of it. So I believe learning is a very good way of humbling yourself and coming up with new ideas. And then on Madaraka Festival, again, I have learned a lot since I started producing content for Madaraka, because I get to listen to the previous shows. I get to listen to watch how the previous content was being made, and how the previous ads were being done, and that is humbling, just like our proverb is telling us today. So that's my experience with the show. Thank you, Simon, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Stella. Thank you again for all your help and hard work. We are now on the last speaker on the stage, but I quickly want to recognize, a few of our audience members who have joined us. Brother Earth is, a regular attendee of the Daily African Proverbs. Thank you for your support. Roger, I see you. Thank you for your support as well. And I see Kapi, I see Chioma, Austin, Sarah, Care, Lillian, Deng, Allen. All of you are deeply, deeply appreciated. I can't see who is on YouTube, so you'll have to comment and let me know that you're there, and I'll be able to see as you comment who it is that is there. But I see a few of you, and I'm looking at the camera and saying thank you. That's the best I can do. But now, for those who are just joining us, we are hosting a really, really incredible guest today. Akumu Fiona is a powerhouse when it comes to podcasting and art. And, she is humble, but, I really, really want you to pay attention to what she has going on. So she's going to let you know how you can support her in just a moment. But for now, we want to go to Jermaine. Jermaine, share with us where you're joining us from and what comes to your mind when you hear this proverb from Chad that says, if you're filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simon, and greetings to everyone from Kingston, Jamaica. Yeah, this is Jeremy, and if you are filled with pride, there will be no room or much room for wisdom. I believe that is a very true statement, and I, fully accept that in order for us to learn, we have to, you know, realize or accept that, we don't know, and we should listen, silence, I think, is a very important part of humility. Not just keeping your mouth closed, but your body language, should also demonstrate that you are listening, you are humble in your stance, and that you're willing to open up yourself to learn and to accept, someone else's opinion, or, to accept that you're wrong. I have also learned that humility take you through the world. If you are humble, you know, you can go through the world. Um, I also learned, just through my own experience, when you are right, even in an argument, when you are right, you should not even try to defend yourself all the time, because it will sometimes backfire on you. So sometimes it's best when someone else, see your point and intervene and said, hold on, and split the justice and say, but, this person is right. And if you are proud and puffed up, then you may not leave space for that intervention to take place, whereby someone else can, advocate or vindicate you because you exalt yourself so highly that, you know, people might think that, wow, you're right, but because you're behaving so arrogant that your pride defeats you. So, I think this is a very, thought-provoking proverb, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share. And thanks again, Simon.
Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you, Jermaine, for joining us and for your incredible contributions today. And also thank you to our speakers, everybody who has been with us on the stage, who have contributed. It means a lot. Akumu, you had everything that everyone had to say, and now it's your time to just reflect. What is it that you had that inspired you the most, and how can we support you? Where do you want to send us to buy a book if you have one? And also, what can we do to support you really right now?
Okay, sure. So I'll start with just the thoughts that came from Becky, Lord, Stella, and Jermaine. I got the names right? So
Yes.
I think Becky, I think for Becky, she talked about writing a book, and I believe if you can write a book, then you can definitely do a podcast, because book writing is difficult. And if you can mentor me on that, please contact me for that. For me, I call myself a writer, but I find it to be really hard. I think writing is one of the hardest content production tools out there. So I believe if you can really sit for months and write a book, then a podcast is pretty much nothing. So you should definitely start a podcast, because you can really distill whatever your book is talking about, if it's nonfiction, that is. If it's not, you can still distill those ideas and push it out in podcast format. Like I said, it's the new age media, so it's a good time to get into it. And then for Lord, Lord says something about, YouTube. Moving from YouTube to podcast, I'd say don't ditch your YouTube channel. Maybe I'd say just add the podcast as an extension to your content channels, right? So YouTube might grow slowly, but don't leave it. Don't ditch it. It's still a good place to be in. Just pivot into a podcast, maybe the same thing or something different. Like I said, because podcasts are growing. For both Becky and Lord, I think you talked about the fact that how being humble has helped you in terms of giving you opportunities. So I was just thinking, maybe because we all have an ego, right? And the ego always comes out to play, right? So I was thinking, what came to mind was whether you guys do a post-mortem, maybe per week you check how when did my ego come to play, and how could I reduce that? How could I be more humble? What can I do better next week? So kind of like a post-mortem for the week, and then maybe a pre-mortem for the day, or maybe a big event. Maybe you're doing something, I don't know, you have an event, like for example the Madaraka day for you, Simon. So you do a pre-mortem and decide and look at the whole idea of how can I be humble in this event, and then what steps will I take to keep the ego at bay, something like that. So I was just thinking in terms of how can you structure it in your day or your week so that you make sure you keep at it, right? And then for Stella, I loved what Stella said, learning new things, which is pretty much what the Yes Girls podcast does. Me and Claire do things that really humble us. I think for me, we try to be, okay, I did, we did activism. So we had to be activists for like 2 weeks. That was very humbling because things are way easier in theory than in practice. So I agree, Stella, learning new things is the biggest humbling, tool you have, because especially when you fail, and failure is like the perfect humbling king, right? So if you can get used to failure, because learning means failing. Just look at the way kids do it. I mean, that kid will walk, fall, and keep doing it. But there's something that kids have. They're not afraid of failure. That's why they learn very fast. When we become adults, we kind of are afraid of failing. Somehow, it's again the ego thing. So I think being humble and just accepting the wisdom to come through, and wisdom is partly learning from failure. So yeah, keep learning new things and always be open to failure, because that's the best way to bring wisdom in. Yes, I think, and Jermaine, I think it was the same as the rest of the others who said, um, being humble has helped. So how can you create a system around ensuring that you keep humble? I mean, I'm also thinking about it. How can I add it into my, when you're writing your goals, how can you add the be humble checkup or pre-mortem for that? Yeah, so those are my thoughts for everyone who's on stage. And in terms of support, um, I think you can support us in 4 ways: the Yes Girls and myself as Akumu. First, you can listen to the podcast. So you'll find the podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's called Yes Girls Podcast. So you'll just search for Yes Girls Podcast and you'll see a very colorful logo with a black background. That will be us. And then and it will start, I think, I don't think there's another Yes Girls podcast as far as I know. The rest probably are Yes Girls or Yes Girls something. So Yes Girls podcast altogether with a colorful logo. That is us. The second thing you can do to support us is please share with us what challenges you want us to do to humble us. We are always open to being humbled. We are right in the middle of season 4, which will start being released next month, but we are already doing the challenges, and our challenges are separated into 3. So there's something we can do, something we can be, which is 24 hours of being something. For example, we did to be positive, and we were that for a week. So something we can do, something we can be, and something we can learn. If you have ideas, we are open to everything except maybe going to Mars, because that would need a lot of money. But anything that we can learn or do, please DM us. We are at Yes Girls Podcast everywhere on all social. So at Yes Girls Podcast together. And the third thing you can do to support us is to vote. So we were nominated for the APVA Awards, APVA, the African Association of Podcasters Awards. And you can listen to us before voting. We have a 32-minute recent episode that we released last Friday, so you can listen to that. And if you are happy to vote and support us, please vote. You can vote at apva, apva.africa/votings. And all that you can find on our socials as well, just at Yes Girls Podcast. And if you want to follow us as well, find us on all platforms at Yes Girls Podcast, and myself, Akumu Fiona. In my Instagram, I'm sketching, I'm posting self-help things, I am posting reels. So you can follow me everywhere, Akumu Fiona as well. So thank you.
That's beautiful. Quick question, Akumu. Do you edit reels? Like if I was to send you content, would you be able to edit reels for me for a fee?
I do, yes. I actually do that. With the Yes Girls Podcast, I have learned how to do that. There's a little app called InShot. You can either pay me to fish for you, or I can teach you to fish. Either way, I think it should work.
I'm actually we have a production facility in Kisumu, but I'm particularly looking for someone who is very good at, someone who I don't need to train anything to do with. We have all the software and we have a lot of content, and I'm looking for someone, especially an African woman, an African girl who is good at editing short form content, TikTok and
definitely a girl.
Yeah, so as we are speaking to it, it would be a very good way for us to collaborate if you're interested. So let me know.
Why not?
Yeah, let me know. And also, do you design artwork for albums and songs and things like that? That's a market you should tap into as an artist.
I've actually tried graphic design, and I realized I really don't like it. I am stuck on my little niche of portrait art, and that's where I'm stuck. Even landscape, yes, I can do it. I just don't enjoy it, and it takes me too much time. Yeah,
Well, you have an
but
opportunity to be
those
humbled, you know. You have an,
fine.
like,
We can do
it's,
it as a
yeah,
yes challenge for
yeah,
sure.
it's Stella who said it, that, you know, when you do new things, it humbles you. So these things that I'm talking about, that
That's true.
you're
But I
not
don't
doing.
I don't want to fail with a client's work. You understand? I don't want to fail with someone's work. I want to fail with my own stuff.
Well, sure. That's true. That's true. I want to thank you again, Akumu, for being so generous with your time and making time for us to have this conversation today. For those who are just joining us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing to the channel and you're giving this video a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that you appreciate this content. And really, I shared the takeaways from today's episode. There are three. They were at the very beginning of this conversation. The first 10 minutes, you'll hear them. So check that part of the conversation out. But today we've talked about, Akumu's interpretation of our proverb today, which is from Chad. And the proverb says that if you are filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. We learned, what she thinks about that proverb. We also learned about a childhood story that inspires her as a leader today. We learned about her biggest accomplishments with all the incredible things she's doing as a podcast host, content crafter, wordsmith, and also portrait artist. And then we heard from you, our audience members. You gave us very wonderful contributions. And then we just had her reflections on your shares. And now we've wrapped it up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow for another session of the Daily African Proverbs. Remember, we do this Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we are very, very consistent with this because I consider podcasting as a way of being mindful, and a way to meditate, a way to stay sane, and that's why I start my day not just by podcasting, but by grounding each episode on an African proverb and also looking at it from an African spiritual perspective. What is it that our ancestors were thinking when they created these proverbs, and why should we sit around this virtual village fire and have a conversation around this proverb? So really, for me, I do this to make my ancestors proud. I do this to make my mother, who is an ancestor, proud, because she loved proverbs, and so I'm really motivated when my daughters listen to these episodes later on in the day. Every day we talk about these proverbs with my daughters. And so if you have a child, I encourage you to make sure, you share with them these African proverbs, because there's so much to discuss and so much to do every day. But if you sprinkle it with a little bit of wisdom, I think it will do magic to your life. So again, thank you, Akumu, and thank you to all our audience members for being here with us today. Asante sana.
Thank you.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.